Davies in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Amina Margot.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
Hello everyone, welcome back once again. This is Vic Acres Wonderland and I am joined as always by the man, the myth, the legends. He's everywhere. Adam, how are you?
Well, after an introduction like that, I'm pretty good. It's been a good weekend it's a good weekend for the Arsenal, certainly for the men. Though we're not here to talk about that for this particular one. The women, I think we can agree it was a good weekend, which I'm sure we're going to pick apart. So yeah, very much looking to dive into our first point of the season.
And we have a guest with us today. I think it's best if she introduces herself. Take it away.
Thank you very much for having me on, both of you. My name's Maisy.
And this is your second appearance since the World Cup, your first since then. How have you been finding the season as a whole? Just for the audio listeners that don't know, you're a Manchester United fan. How have you found the season so far?
We're not going to dive into the men, but if you was going to ask me about that, I would have a different point of view. But
well, we're not going to do that. We're not.
No. I'm not going to hurt myself by talking on that side. But in terms of the women, couldn't really ask for much more, to be fairly honest. Been great yet again.
Well, we'll just talk about a little bit about your transfers because you've got some really talented players in there. Gabby George, who I was a bit, I'll say a bit frustrated about because I do love Gabby George and I was very surprised that she did make the move to Manchester United. You've also got Mallard, a few others that have come in. Do you think that they're going to be difference for you this season, do you think?
I think it does offer us a lot more squad depth in a kind of way where you look at, for instance, Ella Toon, there wasn't really anyone to compete in that position. Now we've got Hinter, the Japanese Golden Boot winner, who could play anywhere in the front three. She could play in the 10. You've got GC, who is Russo's replacement, and you've got Mallard, who's also there as the backup, as well as Rachel Williams. Gabby George, I think she was quite essential because we looked at them pre-season games and it was evident we do need another fullback. We couldn't just rely on Hannah Blundell and a centre-back to play there all season because it was either going to be Letitia or Gemma Evans, and we couldn't really rely on either one of the two just because I think taking Letitia out the centre-back role, it does weaken us centrally, in my opinion. So I think Gabby George is a fantastic addition also. Overall, I am very happy with who we signed. I think they're really great additions. It's just a shame on Emma Watson, who tore her ACL for Scotland during the Scotland internationals, because she looked absolutely brilliant in pre-season, and I think she would have been another great option, as well as Irene Guerrero, who's won the World Cup in that midfield role, just because we didn't really rotate that midfield last season. So I think we needed that more than anything. But I'll send her all my wishes.
We'll just go on to last week as well, because it was a tale of two difference between the two sides. Arsenal losing to Liverpool at the Emirates in the opening game, and then Manchester United playing Aston Villa at Villa Park, and Manchester United win that 1-2-1. What was your thoughts leading into that game and then post game as well?
I think the only thing I was a little bit surprised at in terms of the lineup itself was Lucia Garcia starting, just because Nikita Paris was playing mostly on the wings last season, and Garcia was, as we'd like to say, our super sub. So I was surprised she was starting, as well as the Arsenal game she started. I think we could see a little bit of weakness in a kind of respect of we was good in the first half. We had some great movements by GC. I think Zelen played pretty well as well, and Garcia was very speedy in the right hand role. So I think the thing is the individual mistakes let us down. I think that's the same with the Arsenal game, which we will touch on, and you probably agree with the
Yes.
individual mistakes. So I think it's still early on in the season. I'm happy with the 3 points. I'm sure Carla Ward will be absolutely sick knowing that she's lost to 3 like a point at least, and as we like to say, 30 time in 2 games against us. But I think it was great fight, great substitutions yet again, what really helped the momentum of the game.
So, just as a difference, was that when did you see any of the Manchester United game against Aston Villa?
I saw the first half. So I was watching the game they had the game on in the stadium. I was part of a special thing that the club were running for us, so we got to watch in a special bar. I watched the first half, and I would say I wouldn't say Manchester United. I think they would just edge the first half. I wouldn't say they were rip roaring, free flowing, but they definitely felt like they were having the better attacking play, especially as it got closer to the end of the first half. I think there is definitely talent at forward line. Garcia is a player I've rated. I think she scored your winner, did she, in the Manchester derby last 90th minute?
Yes, she did.
Very pacey, very tricky player. Obviously, you've got Giza, who's from Barcelona, who I think is a very young, very talented player, but I think quite raw. But I think she's full of potential. I'm very excited to see what she comes up with. I saw the result come through on my feed. I think it was at half time in our game, which I don't really want to dwell on. And it was that you'd won 2-1, and surprise, Rachel Williams has scored a late winner. Saw plenty of those last season, so wasn't surprised that she was the one to come up with the goods here. My understanding is that there was a red card tackle as well. I think it was Hansen, was it, with the foul? So it probably did help swing the game Man United's way, despite the fact that Daly obviously got the opener. It's not a game fully. Well, I did see the header. It was a Williams header. Van Domselaar did seem rather stationary. She didn't seem to react well to it. I don't think it was the most powerful of headers across the goal, but she seemed to sort of freeze and watch it go in. And obviously, it was an added time. And the game last season, which obviously was at the Bestcott Stadium, I was watching on TV. One of the best games of the season, by the way. Manchester United away at Villa, just ding dong, left and right. You didn't know which way it was going to go. And when it got to the final set piece, I said again, I'll put it on Twitter. I said, Zelen's going to cross it. And I think even said that Turner, I think because Turner had come on as a sub, I said Turner's going to head this in, because I've seen it happen at Arsenal, because Zelen on set pieces is just brilliant. For what we may say about Katie's, she is amazing at dead ball situations. I mean, I compare her to like a James Ward-Prowse midfielder. It's like if it's 90th minute and someone's on a set piece or free kick corner, going to whip it in. There's only one player I want on that in England, and that's Katie Zelen, because I know she's going to find Russo or find Turner, and as it was, they got the winner. So no, I thought it was obviously Villa. We praised, in the build up to the season, we thought they'd done a lot of good business. Obviously, Van Domselaar's come in. I had them down as potential Europe contenders. As things stand, they've lost both their opening games, and they've got Arsenal next, and I think they've got Spurs and Chelsea still to come. So my prediction is crumbling within my fingers on that one. I must say though, Man United, I don't want to say surprised me, but I would say impressed to have got such a good scalp against Villa, and that had me worried going into the Friday game, and obviously considering we were coming in on the back foot. So yes, I suppose we might as well. We've held off long enough, Matt. We might as well go into the game itself. That's why the listeners are here.
Yes. So this game was all set up. I think one thing we should let people know was it was a Friday game at
Yes, it was.
7:30 kickoff.
Yep.
For those that don't know, Leigh Sports Village is not very accessible for those that do not have a car. So I was not able to make it to this one, but we have Maisy, you were there, weren't you? What was the atmosphere like before the kickoff?
I didn't get in till about like probably 15 minutes before kickoff, just because it is a pain, LSV to get there, as well as that to get into the actual stadium itself. Like, because I'm sitting the south stand, they've closed half the turnstiles, so you could only get into a certain. Well, it just made no sense whatsoever. So there was a huge queue getting in. I genuinely think the stewards don't. It's just unreal. But talk about the atmosphere itself is, I don't know. Because I'm sat on the opposite side as what people would like to say the singing stand. People who were sat the singing stand say it's electric. It was this. It was this. It was this. But I was on the complete opposite side, and I actually didn't think we was that noisy. Maybe it might be because I'm on the opposite side, perhaps. But all I heard was United, 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 or Blazers out, which something we never sang last season. So I hold my hands up on that. Great. But apart from that, I heard nothing. And of course, there was the booze for Russo, which I know divided a lot of opinions too on social media. But I think I actually heard a lot more Arsenal fans more than I actually heard the singing section, as they'd like to say. Just I heard them singing Russo. I was hearing them singing Arsenal. I was even hearing them singing to the United fans. We didn't know you were here, and that just says a lot when there's about 7,000 of us compared to 50. I think that just really speaks to levels for me, and I think the Arsenal fans that come up, they made the atmosphere. I want to just applaud them on that, just because I think they was absolutely terrific at LSV.
I think a lot of
I was gonna
lessons
say,
from that.
Yeah, I was
Wasn't
gonna
that Adam last
Yeah.
year? You were there, I was there as well, and there was pickets of Arsenal fans and United fans together.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there for the.
You
I was
wasn't?
there for the home game. Wasn't not the away game. No.
Okay, I'll hold
You
my
were there
hands
for
up.
the
I
away game. I
apologise.
It was
But
just you.
yeah, last year
Were
they were mixed. They were mixed together, and nobody could create any noise at all. It just sort of died off.
Can I just confirm? Sorry, the away section, was that on the halfway line?
It was on the halfway line. We don't have a proper away section, so I think I think the supporters group just gets in contact to say, well, where's going to be probably the most likely place. I think because I'm trying to think, it's the East Stand, I think it is. They didn't really sell as many season tickets, because I think Man United this year was trying to sell as many season tickets as possible, because we only had like half a stand full of season tickets. So I think they was trying to boost on that massively. But even though there was, I'd say, like the 50 of you who was in the halfway line, there was still some scattered around anyway. There was still the odd ones who was in my stand, in the south stand, and I seen him in the north east stand, I believe it is. Just because the north, no, it's not the west stand north, sorry, because they split it into two ones back when there was only half of us with season tickets. So there was a few scattered there, and there was a few scattered in the south, but there was mostly in the east stand section in the halfway line.
It just seems a weird place to position the away fans. So just obviously kind of like the Emirates Stadium, we put them in a corner of the ground, and Meadow Park, so at the back. Normally an away stand is behind a goal or in a corner. To put them on the halfway line is a bit weird. And I mean, it did help watching on the TV, because that's obviously where the cameras and the microphones are. We were getting a lot of Arsenal chants coming through the speaker systems. I should have said a massive shout out to the supporters club, Red and White, home and away, those who made the journey, and plenty did. And yeah, we heard those chants loud and clear. I know there's a lot of talk about people saying they couldn't hear, certain people in the stadium saying they couldn't hear the chanting. Well, I can assure you, Maisy said, they were heard. I heard them more on TV, and I'm sure the players did as well. And I thought they brought a really good atmosphere. Something which I think in some stadiums is lacking, but I think work our supporters club, and I would also hold, I hand up to your supporters club as well. Have done a lot of work to try and get songs going and chants going. In terms, I would say the loudest I heard the Man United fans was with about 10 minutes to go. We'll get into the goals in a bit, but when you went 2-1 up, and I was just hearing this constant United. It was the loudest I'd heard them, and I can sort of understand them because obviously this is the first time they led, and until obviously it wasn't 2-1 anymore. So yeah, I did hear a bit of them. The other heard was, as Matt said, the boos, which is, as Matt said, a divided opinion. Now I'm just going to throw my hat and say I didn't really mind it. I loved that bit of sort of pantomime nonsense. And I would say I don't think it affected Russo at all, but it provides a bit of sort of banter between the sides. Maisy, where did you stand on? Were you a pro booer, or was it something you don't want to see in the game?
I'm a pro booer. If you want me, I know that probably just sounds horrible when I say that, but I am pro to it because all us three can agree here. We do want to grow this game, and I think like you need in the way is you hear boos in the men's stadiums, and nobody will look at you next to you and go, "Why the hell are you booing our old player? She's a legend at this club." Like we even had Man United fans going for other Man United fans for booing Russo, and I think it's not just Russo. The fans have booed. They booed Greenwood. They even boo Lauren James. That's quite I know that's quite surprising as well. But I don't boo Lauren James personally. I will hold my hands up. I have booed Alex Greenwood. I will hold my hands up on that one. But I think for me is you need to create that atmosphere. You need to create them rivalries. I like you can remember like you will know like when Tevez went to Manchester City, he had prophecy from the Manchester United fans, and you need to have that kind of bit of flair on you. And go into a little bit of when you mentioned about the away fans, I do personally think with they done very well in terms of I think they was trying to boost Russo a little bit because as soon as we've heard the boos, I think I grasped a little bit saying we love you, Leslie Russo, we love you. It was kind of a bit like that, and I heard that quite a lot every time we did boo. So
there were Man United fans still singing "Love for Russo." So you had half the Man United fans saying "We love you, Russo," and you got the other half of the Man United fans saying "Down with Russo."
Yes, like loads of United fans were going mad on social media after the game, saying, "How are you doing this? This is not appropriate for children to boo in a stadium. We need to show love to our players. Russo's a legend. Russo's done this for us. She should never be booed. She's our legend at the club." And I just think yes, there is going to be certain players you're going to hold love for. You're not going to boo. Like, it's if Honor ever come back and Barca played, I don't think she'd be booed, me personally. But there is it's the rivalry at the end of the day, and if you want to grow that game, you're gonna need one away stand section, and that's something that I do think Manchester United has been quite disgusting for, because us as a supporters club want the exact same. We want an away stand, but then we're not giving it. And two, atmosphere, because 5, 6, 7 years ago, there wasn't much atmosphere in games. You just heard the odd clap. And I think that took a lot for a lot of supporters clubs to start bringing that atmosphere in, because there was people who didn't like singing. They didn't like people standing up. And I think even though the game has come so much, there's still them things that do need to be happening as well. We need that rivalry, and we need them away sections. We need the singing, and that will come over time, but I think it's just them odd ones that still don't like it.
They'll come round. They'll come round.
It is one of those weird things, isn't it? The women's game is naturally known for players moving on to other clubs at the end of contracts. You look at some players over the years that have left. Some of them have gone with dignity, some of them maybe not so much, maybe in Alex Greenwood, Lauren James, for example,
Russo,
Alessia Russo. I'd say, to be honest, I think Alessia Russo had the dignity to be a she was best mates with Ella Toon and things like that. So there was always going to be that special connection between United and her. I don't think she's never going to let that go. She knows that United helped her in helping her develop and grow and become the player that she is today. I'll always remember the game against at Old Trafford against Everton, Alessia Russo scoring that header, and that really got me at my attention. As soon as she scored that, I was like, you need to watch. If she gets in the England squad, she's going to be one to watch and keep an eye on. And she just grew from there. And there are players that are probably going to come back and they are going to get booed and things like that. And it is a shame, but it's going to be part of the game, as you've rightly said, Maisy. But we should properly get into the starting 11. So we'll start with Manchester United. Mary Earps in goal, Hannah Blundell, Amaya Letitia, Millie Turner and Gabby George at the back, with Hayley Ladd, Katie Zellum, Lucia Garcia, Ella Toon, Leah Golden in the midfield, and Hisa in up top. And this was the bizarre one from Arsenal because we had no idea what formation we were trying to play, but I've got it in front of me as it's supposedly a 3-4-3 with Kim Little, Stina, and Alessia Russo as part of the front three. Steph Catley, Leah Volti, and Victoria Pelova and Noel Moritz in the midfield with Leah Cordina, Jem Beattie, and Amanda Ilashter and Sabrina in goal. Just on those starting 11, Maisie, what was your thoughts on seeing both those starting 11s? As you mentioned, you only got in about 15 minutes before.
I seen the lineup before I went into the game, but I think ours was not really. I think it was expected. We all know Matt Skinner doesn't rotate hardly. He's terrible for his rotation, so I was kind of not surprised to see the exact same starting lineup. I am one to say, if something's not broken, don't try and fix it. I am all for that, but there was plenty of things coming into the Arsenal when we watched the game. But I would say, yes, there is some work to be on, and that will come on to obviously tomorrow's game. I think with Arsenal's, I was a little bit surprised because I always thought in my mind it's either Blackstenius or Russo. And if you're going to play one or the other, if you're going to play both, it's going to have to be two at the top. So I didn't really see the formation. I only seen it on the Sky Sports app, and the formations are always wrong until the game actually kicks off. So when I was looking at it, I thought, oh, it must be like a 3-5-2 perhaps or something like that. So I was expecting some on that lines, but to play Russo as a winger quite surprised me, just because she played as a winger for us about 2 seasons ago, and I didn't think she was as effective on that wings because she's not a winger. But she did play very well. D'Angelo was another one that was surprising. I was expecting Zinsberger to be in goal, but I think it was a risky call as well, probably from Jonas to change the goalkeepers. But we have seen it last season. He has rotated his goalkeepers. One what I was surprised at as well, I was expecting McCabe to start. Because I think for me, you need that kind of physicality in a rivalry game. And McCabe is one of them type of players where you'd love her in your team, but when she's playing against you, it's one of them like it's a bit risky. But I think bringing on as a sub was probably a good call, just so we can bring out the balance a little bit too. But I was expecting her to start Zinsberger, and I was probably expecting a 3-5-2 looking at the start 11.
Adam, what did you think about the formations? And
so Man United, we know Mark Skinner doesn't rotate. He lacks the ability to do that, and he just play the same card throughout the whole season. The only time he'll sort of player is if they're injured or suspended, which, as I've discussed with before, which is going to make the European campaign rather interesting, especially if they get through PSG, and suddenly you've got football on, every single weekend, Champions League midweek. You can't keep playing. I know they've increased the squad. Well, I say increased the squad. They've actually shrunk the squad. Although I think a lot of the departures were academy squad players. They weren't necessarily the main players, but there's been a high turnover of players. Whether they've got the squad now to juggle both, because Mark Skinner can't play the same team for every single game because they're just not going to be able to cope. The Arsenal team, well, Jonas did it again. He fooled me. I thought when the lineups came at Liverpool, I tweeted out what I thought the formation was, and then when I watched the formation, I realised, to my horror, he'd gone for a back three. And so I was begging, don't go back three again, because we saw what happened against Liverpool. We were slow, ponderous, no energy, struggled to play out, and then the back three came through, and I had my head in my hands. But there were key differences to this. Firstly, Lottie Moy out the team. Normal Maritz, a proper right back, in the team. Ilestead and Kadina making their first WSL starts in that back three. Palova in the team. Ljersen, Mornham and Frida subbed out. Blackstenius in the team instead. And I was exactly the same as Maisy. I looked and I thought, right, okay, I can see Webby what he's done here. He's going for a back five away from home against a team that is not going to be sitting deep low block. Man United are going to come out. But I mean, Mark Skinner said in his press conference, which did sort of, for me, reeked a bit of naivety and arrogance over sort of tactical acumen, which is basically, we're Man United, so we're going to attack. Which seemed a bit sort of, but you got to have a bit more nuance than that potentially. But we knew that they were going to attack. They weren't going to sit back and go low block at the LSV because the fan base would, they'd be up in arms and the Norwich City Scarves would be out. So he went obviously with about three, which I expected, to deep and counter attack. Fair enough. But then I thought, as Maisy said, that we'd have a midfield of Palova, Volti, and Little, and Russo, Blackstenius, split strikers, a bit like at the World Cup with Hemp and Russo. Maybe with Palova or Little, maybe operating in a 10 position. And then with about 3 seconds watching us line up, going to press Mary Earps, I thought, Kim Little's a left winger. And that's when we found out that Russo was operating the right, Little on the left. Now, Jonas, I think it's explained afterwards, the reason why they were trying to cut off the passing lanes, prevent them from playing out to the likes of, I think it was Blundell and George and so forth, and trying to cut the pass off to Ladd and Zelen. That's why they were there. And Russo, we know she can press very well. Little, very good at the ball, but she's going to naturally go inwards in field. And then you see the goalkeeper. Now, it's no secret that there's been murmurs of discontent in the fan base about Manu Zinsberger. I think those murmurs have increased after the bid for Earps, because there is a national love for Mary Earps because she's an amazing keeper, queen of stops, as we all know. And I think maybe there are a few Man United fans who saw us not get Earps, look at Manu and think that maybe putting 2 and 2 together and thinking that, and I think that's very unfair, because I think Manu has been a quality keeper for Arsenal. She won the Golden Glove a few seasons ago, and to sort of see a view turn on that was a bit unfair. That being said, she wasn't great against Liverpool. She did fumble across. She wasn't great for the goal. And so I wasn't surprised to see Sabrina come in, but Jonas explained that the reason he brought Sabrina in was purely tactical. Wasn't due form, he wasn't unhappy with Manu, and it was to do with the quicker distribution and getting the ball out longer and quicker. And in fairness, Sabrina, quality keeper. We saw her, I remember the home game against Man City, quality saves, kept us in the game when we were 1-0 down, and we were able to turn the game around and win. So whilst unhappy with the back three, there seemed to be logic in the way it lined up. Of course, everyone made a big hoo-ha about the fact we made 6 changes, and people were saying, Arsenal are going to be struggling here. 6 changes, it's going to be disjointed. But no, I was happy. I was under the big intrigue, the big narrative of the whole game was Alessia Russo. I mean, how could it not be? It was all about Alessia Russo coming home. Alessia Russo, is she going to score against Man United? Would she celebrate if she scored? And it was the big sort of narrative behind it, which, as always a football means, is that nothing will happen. And it did definitely add a bit of an edge to it. But no, lineups, I think, were good. The big thing was, and I wrote about this beforehand, my big want was a performance. I wanted to see Arsenal perform, because they didn't perform against Liverpool. Even if we didn't win, as long as we played like I know we could against Man United, not having a patched up team and another, like we did in our previous encounters last season, and show a bit of effort, bit of guts, and show what we can do, then I would be happy with that. And we'll get into the game in right now, but I'll just say at the top, I was happy with how we played. I was happy with the performance, as I'm sure we'll now pick into.
Just for me, that I was very confused with it all. It was very much, I felt like it was a hybrid formation for Arsenal. I was pretty sure Man United would go with the back four, but then it wasn't. It was debating whether it was going to be a 4-3-3 or not. But we'll go into the first goal of the game. Comes from a lovely little bit of pressing, shall we say. Sina Blacksinius goes and scores the opening goal. Maisy, first goal conceded within the first 15 minutes. It's not really a good sign, is it, in any game, whether you're at home or away?
I thought once I watched this, I thought, bloody hell, this is going to be a fuel fest for Arsenal. That's what I genuinely thought. That's what I genuinely thought. Like, I genuinely thought this is going to be like a fuel fest. Like, because I think we've seen, like, a couple of times before that, Hannah Blundell was getting skinned alive on that right back role. She doesn't suit it. And we've seen it several times. And I think it was to the point where Garcia had to track back a couple of times to help Hannah Blundell. And she helped quite a few times. Letizia getting out of position to help Hannah Blundell, and because Blundell was then moving into the middle, and then she was moving as a left back. I was like, where are you going today? Like, she was literally everywhere. But I just think that I think we could have done a lot better. And I thought this is going to be our weakness here in this game. Arsenal's going to be attacking that side. So I was quite disappointed because I knew it was an error. It was, I would like to say, very poor defending as well, because I think we could have done a whole lot more better, in my opinion. And I think it's more because Matt Skinner doesn't want to. He doesn't want to try something new. We've got an actual right back on the bench, and he hasn't used her. It's absolutely unreal. But yeah, I was very disappointed with that first goal, just because of I'm one of them, like, if it was a goal and it was a good goal, just like the second one, I'd be looking at it and go, fair play, because that's how it was.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the point of, it was a bad goal where something that could have been prevented, something that could have done a lot better, I was very disappointed, to be honest.
Adam, how do you sum up that goal?
Well, from the Arsenal perspective, what I found interesting is about 10 seconds before then, Man United nearly score. Leah Velti, we all love, made a gap. She loses the ball on the edge of her own box. A high turnover edge of the box. Man United, who are very good at pressing, they get the numbers for likes of Galton, Garcia, very good at pressing. They force a turnover to the box. And luckily, Arsenal escaped. But what that meant, and I always feel these moments, is when you nearly get turned over in the edge of your own box, it can lead to a very good counter punch. And what was good, Arsenal, is they recovered. Man United obviously had switched on to, we've got a chance here, push forward. And the strength of the 3-5-2 we went for is the wing. And it's all about speed and counter-attack. That's what the back three gives you. And we had, I think it was Catley, not operating at left centre back, but as left wing back. Very good distributor of the ball, as we know, left foot like Messi. And the way the team worked it, I think it was Russo who flipped the ball out wide to Catley. Catley, ball in the channel. Stina has got decent enough pace that she can outpace the back line, breakthrough. And in seconds from almost conceding, we've worked quickly around the midfield, who are still in attack mode, haven't retreated in time. Stina gets in behind. I do want to have a shout out to the Man United defender. I don't know if it was Blundell or Letizia. One of them is right on the heels of Stina, and credit to her, she doesn't bring Stina down, because if she brings Stina down, that earns a penalty, it's likely a sending off. And I thought, fair play, she didn't make that gaff, annoyingly. But Stina, great goal. It's the first goal we scored in the first half of the match since Lottie would have been more against Everton last season. It was oh crikey, we scored a goal, fantastic. As the game progressed, that was actually our highest, going into statistical world, but there's a few things were posted out. That was our highest XG moment of the entire game. that was the one moment where basically we actually cut Man United open properly and had a clear-cut, open, strong chance. And it's well taken by Stina. Again, Kelly Smith is now a full-time coach, and we'll agree that she's done very good work as Stina making her the forward she is. Obviously starting now rather than coming off the bench, like she did against Villa. And I was very happy with the goal, but I didn't think there was going to be a goal fest because I knew Man United were too good not to be goal fested like that. We're not Chelsea. Sorry, but but I knew that this Arsenal and Man United were going to be pretty evens in this game. It was going to be two very good teams, and it was going to be about who can get the breaks, who can make the key moments happen. So what I saw afterwards was a level of sort of control. I think there weren't many opportunities for either side, I should say. Both defences pretty strong. I think we had a few crosses, they had it clear. We were able to block their efforts. And we're moving now. I'm sorry, Matt, I'm going to move into the next goal. Golson's goal. You were speaking about errors earlier, Maisy. The infuriating thing is that we up until I think what was the goal? It was the 20th minute, was it? Sorry, it was the 27th minute. Yeah. So my feeling of 3-5-2 is you usually get the first 20 minutes. You usually are on top. You get a really good, strong open 20 minutes, and then the opposition figure you out. And I think back to when the England men were in the World Cup semi-final against Croatia. I think back to the Euro final the men had against Italy, and I think back to the game we had against Liverpool, where we actually started all right, didn't get a goal, and then as the first half progressed and went on, we just got worse and worse. So I always felt that we would have a strong start, but that would probably fade. And as it turns out, 27 minutes it fade. It's Gabby George. Who brilliant ball from Gabby George. I think not enough is being said about this ball from Gabby George. It's absolutely brilliant because if it's got too much pace in it, it bounces straight through to Sabrina and it's an easy take for her. But the brilliant thing about this ball is that it holds up, and Galton is rapid, and the ball holds up just enough that it lures Sabrina out and then realizes that she's in no man's land, and the only thing she can do is kick it. And it's a ghastly error. It's a ghastly air kick. Galton is not going to cough up that chance. It's a good finish. And it's just frustrating because it just felt so self-inflicting that we were keeping Man United at arm's length very well with our setup, with our defensive setup, largely in control. And then it just gifted momentum. You gift energy to the crowd, and suddenly it's 1-1, and it's anyone's game after that. I don't know. What was it like for your side, Maisy, when Galton got the equaliser?
It's one of them with Leah Galton. Like, if she has a chance of goal, I think she's more likely going to score. I think she's a fantastic winger. As you've said, she's rapid. She's very skillful. And I think for Leah Galton, she's improved massively in the last couple of years as a player. Her confidence has really grown. And I think the way that she was able to, as you've already mentioned with Gabby George, the ball she made went to Sabrina, and Leah Galton got it. And I think with Leah Galton, the way that she was able to do that little skill to get round her, well, I think it was a very good movement by Manchester, by both the players. I think probably, in my opinion, when I'm thinking of that goal, I'd probably say that was the best bit of skill and the best bit of movement for us in that entire game, just because of the cleverness of the players. And I like it when you get that, I'd like to say, IQ of the ball. And I think both Gabby George and Leah Galton have got terrific IQ when it does come to being on that pitch, finding them right moves, the great vision, and I think it's very well worked.
100%. I do want to also shout out to your other winger, Garcia. She was doing a lot of work on the other wing, and her tussle with Codina on new centre back. And I was watching that. I was feeling rather uncomfortable. I think Garcia in that game did. There was a lot of moments where if I think it was like BT had to come across, he needed a lot of help. There was a moment where she tried to slide in for the ball and only really sort of helped on for Garcia. I think her pace gave Codina a lot of numbers, and it meant that Catley had to come back a lot and help as well. But we know obviously Codina is new. It's her first start for Arsenal. and it was a bit of what do you call it, a fiery start. It was a tricky one for her, but hopefully she'll become stronger for it. But no, I thought half time. I thought it was deserved. I thought one was a fair scoreline. I think he had a few more chances. I think Turner had a header from a corner near the end. I thought both teams were pretty good. I think Russo had a volley over. Obviously, we were all hoping that Russo was going to get a goal because it would have made things very interesting. What were your thoughts, Maisy, half time? Were you happy or were you disappointed?
I was relieved in a kind of way. I just think I like to get a goal before half time. It settles my nerves, I'd like to say. But I think the first half it was fairly even. I think both sets of teams made some fantastic movements of the ball, great vision. Garcia, I think she was absolutely electric. I think she was quite unfairly taken off, in my opinion. I think she could have really done with that full 90. I don't know whether it's the fact he was saying of the Champions League. I'm not too sure, but I would have kept her on. If not, I would have put on Nikita Paris for her. Just because I think Nikita Paris does have control as well on the wing. She's better when it comes to low blocks, in my opinion. So I think that's what I would have personally done if not. But I think for me there was mistakes both sides, but I would say it was fairly even. I think the entire game itself, the full 90, was fairly even, and the result was fair.
Just to quickly go back, because someone didn't let me have my Stina moment or the
Go on, Matt.
or the
the floor is yours, Matt.
or the
The floor is
Goldson.
yours.
It's the fact that Stina managed to score the goal. I think that's going to boost her confidence quite a lot. It was very much reminiscent of her first goal in the WSL, funnily enough, against Manchester United, where she's just threw on goal and she just tips it around. It's fantastic. And the goal for Golden, it's fantastic play, but again, it's a small error. Goalkeeper misinterpreting the ball whereabouts she is. It does happen, but again, I've seen people this week and turn around and say, "Oh, you can't. This is why you should have brought a goalkeeper in the summer. This, that, or the other, or some other things." It's natural for goalkeepers to make errors, but at the moment you can see with both Manu and Sabrina, they're not fully up to it. Manu at the moment is still recovering mentally. She's had a couple of hours recently for Austria and Arsenal. Sabrina hasn't really got that match fitness, so she's not as sharp. So there's things there where she would have done that. She might say last season against City, she would have probably gone and just hoofed it down at the other end of the pitch, or she would have kicked it out for a throw. But Golden's just mad. What's great to see is that Golden seems to be really up for it. She seems to really want to try and put herself into that hat for the England squad, and she's gambling quite a lot. So a lot of these times you're not seeing maybe what would have happened a couple of years ago is Golden maybe would have probably not gambled on the fact that Sabrina would have missed that. You would have probably seen Golden maybe just sort of get like, oh, goalkeeper's got it, that's it. No one would have gambled. But it was a great goal. Ella Toon celebrating in the background before she even put it away. Just goes to show you how much faith the United players do have in each other. We'll go on to the second goal, which was 5 minutes after coming on. Melvin Mallard gets on the end of a Mizugawa.
Hang on, Matt. Hang on. There was quite a lot of stuff that happened in the second half before Mallard scored. I mean, we are cutting out some of the best bits here.
Then go on. Then you raffle them away.
Well, I'll waffle on for starters because I think Man United started the second half very well, and I thought that Giza should have given Man United the lead. I thought there was a really good moment when she burst into the box, and I did hold my breath when I saw her cross shot, and it's inches. Honestly, a bit more, and it's in off the post. She's a really, really good talent, and I was worried she was going to open her account against us. But my issue is she was very hot and cold because while she had that really good moment, the only thing I remember her doing is struggling to get past Jen Beattie outside our box. And they got in a bit of a tussle on the end of the box. I'm not quite sure what happened there, whether it should have been a foul either way or not. I don't think anything was given. I think Man United fans can be excited about having Geeta in the team, but I think they all should need to be patient. And I think it will take a while for her to adjust to come in WSL. Then Jonas went and summoned the cavalry from the bench. So Ford, McCabe, Judson Mornham, they all into the fray. And I think, Matt, we can agree that completely changed Arsenal. I think Arsenal were sort of flagging a bit. The momentum just swang with that substitute. Would you agree?
Yes, but also no. I think there were opportunities there and thereabouts. I'm going to end up being picky, and Lottie's going to be sort of giving me the red eyes. I can feel them right now. So just for those that don't know, I think Frida Leonhardt and Mornham ended up with 3 attempts on goal all game. 2 of them she hit right at the defender. The other one time you expect her to hit it, she passes it off to Alessia Russo, and Alessia Russo had to go too far wide to bring it back in. It's just, I don't.
And she had one chalked off for offside.
Yeah, that's true as well. But it's just, I have a feeling that Hengarisa has really done some mental damage on Frida, because this is not the same Frida from last season. It may take a while for her to get back, but yes. So we'll quickly go on to Mallard's goal. She squeezed, basically. Mazzaro plays the ball, go through out on goal. Between Amanda, Sabrina, and Leia Codina, Mallard somehow manages to just get her shin in front of it, and you got Sabrina and Amanda shouting at each other after Mallard runs away, celebrating that she scored her first WSL goal. Maisy, what was your thoughts seeing that?
Well, before that, I was a bit annoyed with Max. You know, if you want me to be honest, like it was one of them. Like, it's kind of one of them where at the point you know who's going to be making as a substitute. So it's like, right, Bet's in. What minute's Rachel Williams coming on? That's how it gets at this point for Manchester United, in my opinion, anyway. So to see Mallard come on, I think it was great. I've never watched her myself. I don't watch the French league, so I didn't really know of her abilities. Didn't really know what she was about. I do think for me I think she done it on a second, third touch maybe. On the pitch, she got a goal. It was I must be honest, it was quite a little scuffy goal. And when I watched it, it felt like it was in such slow motion. So I don't know how it was like watching on the TV, but it felt like it was just going in so slowly. I think it was great bit of work by Rachel Williams and Hinter as well. Hinter, who got a first assist for it as well in the WSL. I think it was great little bit of link up there between them both. I think she's going to be another player as well as Mallard, because she's only a lone E player anyway. Never fall in love with a lone E, but I think she'll be another. Both of them will be great additions coming into the season. A little bit of experience and a little bit of different kind of creativity, bit of different kind of strikers profiles. So I think it was overall, I'm really happy. I was really, really happy for her. That's when LSV, I felt like, was quite noisy. Right until Arsenal scored. But when it did come to the last 10 minutes of the game, I think the cookie really crumbled. It felt like in a kind of way we was worrying, giving the ball away too quickly, trying to play the ball a little bit too quickly forward, and I think that just done us really no favours. I know you're going to touch onto the last goal in a minute, but I just think after that we kind of lost our cool, because realistically before Arsenal scored we could have made it 3-1 beforehand. So I think it was just more that we was thinking, oh crap, we need to make sure Arsenal don't get the ball. We need to bring it forward to make it free, rather than right, we need to control this momentum and control the possession. Because we knew it was going to be quite a lot of added time, because I know Sabrina went down for a few minutes. I know, trying to think, there was all the substitutes as well, what had up plays, the goals. So we knew that there was going to be a couple of added minutes anyway. So I think that's when I think Manchester United struggled in that respect after that second goal.
Just that second goal, then Adam, take it away.
Yeah, well. First, I'll go with the Mallard goal because as great Mallard known. I'm told that she's a very good striker, and I see her as well. I've been informed really that she's probably going to be the Russo replacement. Actually, she's a very good striker from Lyon, and I think she showed her fox in the box predatory instincts there, because it's a defensive cock up by us, first by Maritz, then by Amanda. It's another poor bit of communication. For me, Amanda has just to hack that clear, but she's trying to shepherd it back for the keeper, and it's just not on. Not aware that Mallard's behind her, and it's a very clever sort of reach around and prod past the keeper. What's infuriating is just a few minutes earlier, Russo hit the post, and that was sort of at the crest of our best moment of the game. We had Russo get a very poor connection header to Earps, with Earps make a very good save of her feet from Russo running through, and then I think it was the Frida moment you mentioned earlier, where Frida sort of tapped. I think actually Frida was offside and didn't get flagged, thankfully. But Russo was put a bit too wide, checks back in, and you just think, if that had gone in, I mean, Lord knows what would happen at NSV, but the booing would have been stratospheric, I'd imagine. But we were denied that moment, sadly. And then, Man United, I think probably only their second other moment in the half. Went at the other end and pinched a winner. And at that point, my head is in my hands, because now we're looking at two losses out of two. And to be honest, we'd actually played rather well. I always find that the 3-5-2 formation is rather limiting when it comes to creativity, but we created decent enough chances to warrant an extra goal. What I would say is, following that, Jonas made some more subs, and he actually changed formation. You may have seen the piece of paper that came out on the pitch when he brought the likes of Chloe Lacasse on. So Women White came off for Beattie. I think that was probably fatigue, because I think Beattie had a race was run, so a like swap. Maritz came off and Lacasse came on. Now, what this meant was that Arsenal moved to a back four with Katie McCabe as a right back. So you had a left-footed right back and a wrong-side right back. It meant that Lacasse could push forward, and suddenly there were moments when Arsenal just had the attack, the wave of attacks in those 10 minutes was incredible. Because as you say, Maisy, Man United's game management was appalling. Because of that situation, it's keep ball, slow the game down, slow the tempo down, keep the ball out of Arsenal's reach, and just slowly work it around, try and get it to the corner. Instead, it was let's sit deep and pump long balls to Rachel Williams. I was terrified of Rachel Williams, because I was terrified she was going to get a late goal like she always does. And I was thinking it'll be, 1-1, it'll be tense and everything, and then suddenly there'll be a last-minute corner and Rachel Williams will not in a winner. So I was actually more terrified of her than Mallard. Shows how wrong I was. But like I said, we had the Frida opportunity. I think it was Ford who made the pass. If she makes that pass quicker, because she holds us under too long, if she makes that pass quicker, Frida's clean through onside and actually gives us an earlier equaliser. I think McCabe hit an ambitious effort wide, but we were certainly piling the pressure on, and there was a decent chunk of added time. And I'm just praying to the football gods that give us something, because this team, we've led, we've played well, we've 2 goals self-inflicted on ourselves, which is just infuriating. I mean, you were mentioning earlier about, obviously, if it had been a good goal. If it had been, I don't know, Ella Toon, 20 yards, top bins or whatever, Katie's Ellen, free kick, top bin, fair enough, but the goals we considered were so avoidable. And Lacasse comes on. I think she came on 86 minutes. She's only been on long. And then, I was absolutely flabbergasted. Lottie thought that it maybe had gone wide on the TV replay, and I concur. I thought the same. I thought it might have gone round the other side of the side netting and hit the stanchion, and I was just flabbergasted. It was the most perfectly placed top bin sort of effort, because it's Mary Earps has got across and made a dive, and it's still out of her reach. I don't know which side of the ground. Which side of the ground were you on, Maisy? Were you?
I was on the opposite side.
So you're at the Mallard goal end.
Yes.
Yeah. So this was a thing. So we were hearing all this, as I mentioned earlier, this swell of United, the Man United trying to sing the Man United players home. Although the Man United game had just like was shot to pieces. They just stopped playing football. We're just basically hanging on for the bell. And then Lacasse, for our first Arsenal goal, pulls that out of nowhere. It's I mentioned XG earlier with the Blackstenia setup. This was an XG of 0.02. I mean, it was the joint lowest across the entire game, and Lacasse did that. And suddenly thinking, well, I never know. There's 3 minutes left. I was, maybe we could, but I think wisely it finished 2-2. And so we didn't get the Russo narrative. Instead, we got two other summer signings who were able to get off the mark. And I thought 2-2 was a fair result. I think it was the minimum we deserved. I think we made Welsh had the better of the chances. We didn't take them. Man United were ruthless and took theirs. I thought it was a really good game of football. I think both managers said so at the end. I think they were said, fair enough. It was a very, very good game of football. What I thought interesting was that Jonas, I think, tactically was able to work it and get the result. I do actually want to get your opinion, Maisy. What is actually with Mark Skinner? Is he a good manager who is doing very good stuff for the team, or is he just a decent coach who happens to have a very talented pool of players and he's actually quite lucky to be in the position?
It's hard to say, if you want me to be honest, because I'm going to hold my hands up. I'm not a huge fan of Mark Skinner. I do, so when he makes a sub, it's kind of like he thinks it's failure. That's how it looks across, because he don't like making subs. So if he makes one, it looks like it's pure failure for him. And we knew that a lot of our success didn't necessarily come from Mark Skinner last season. It actually came from the assistant manager, Martin Ho. He was
Who's
one
now
who
left, hasn't
he has left. I think he's gone to a Norwegian team, I think, but he was very vocal. It was him who was seen who was at the box shouting, telling the players where to go. It was him who was helping out with the training. Like, when I heard the players have a lot of praise, it wasn't for Mark Skinner, it was for Martin Ho. That's who I heard a lot of the praise for. Martin Ho was the manager, and especially when it came, I think, January last year, I heard a lot of people not liking Mark Skinner and saying these certain players are wanting to leave because of the way Mark Skinner is. So you could argue it could be due to the team, but I think for me, he has had a lot of backing in this squad. I'd personally say he's had more backing than what Casey Stoney has had backing-wise, just because a lot has changed since Casey Stoney's left. We've got the facilities now. We've got the training ground, which Casey Stoney never had. She plead for. So we never know. If we kept her, could things have been completely different? But I think Mark Skinner offers different kind of football compared to Casey Stoney as well. He done well with a very good Birmingham side. He didn't do so well with an Orlando side. So I'd like to say certain parts, maybe it is Skinner, but we do have some fantastic players also. And the players who brought in last season, like Rachel Williams, was a massive impact for the club with the last minute goals. And she proved a lot of people wrong, because people called her a 2-goal a season striker. Lucia Garcia offered that a lot of squad depth, the space, the super sub. Nikita Paris, one of the only ones who's won a Champions League in the squad, she's offered quite a lot. And again, we've brought in some more players. So I'd like to say it's probably a bit of both, but I give a lot more of the players, and I think the fans gave Martin Ho a lot more credit, and we don't really see that now with Charlotte Healer, who's the new assistant coach and also the academy coach. We don't see her as vocal, and I know that a lot of people weren't happy when there was the 1-0 win against 1-0 loss against Chelsea at Kings Meadow, and people were saying, well, why Mark Skinner put Mannion on, and then he still stuck to the same back four. Like, what's going on? Like, if we need a goal, why are we putting Mannion on? And apparently, for what people said, Charlotte Healy spoke to some of the fan base like crap. So it's a tough one, really. So I think a lot of it did come to Martin Ho, in my personal opinion.
Is this one of the problems that essentially sorry, Adam, to cut you off, but
That's
when you look at a team that wants to be at the top, you're looking at the best players and everything. And sooner or later, you're going to have to realise that maybe it might be the manager's fault because over the last couple of seasons, you've lost some of the best players. You've lost Alessia there and Honor Battier this summer. Essentially, might be, there's still ongoing negotiations with Mary Earps. We don't know whether or not she's going to be coming or going. That'll be tested over in January, we expect. But would it surprise you if you were to lose more of these players because they don't like Mark Skinner? And it's almost like a statement of intent to sort of say, you need to get your house in order. You need to make sure that you've got the right environment. And if he's causing this toxic environment, then not many of those players will stay.
Yeah, I think that comes down to a part. I think Polly Bancroft as well plays a massive part in it because I think a lot of the players hasn't liked with how she negotiated with the contracts as well. I think a couple of players left due to her too. So I think the thing is with Manchester United, I'm not going to screen glazers out when I talk about this, but I genuinely don't think the club genuinely knows what they're doing in terms of the women's team. It took loads of years from 2018 to last season to sign ahead of development for the women's game, which we was quite behind compared to all the top clubs as it was. And then Russo, 6 different people negotiated a contract. Why did they need 6 to negotiate a contract? If 6 people negotiated me with a contract, I'd be like, sod off, I'm off. Honor, she wasn't even offered a contract until the Champions League money came in, and I think that again, the board, the ownership doesn't really care. That's how I look at it anyway. People talk about Mary Earps. I don't think she's going to stay. That's why I think they brought in Fallon Toulis-Joyce now to put her as that number 1 for next season.
Sorry, Maisy. Do you think Man United should have taken the money?
Yeah, I personally think so. If we knew that Russo didn't want to stay, she wanted to go to Arsenal, I would have took. I think we should have took that money because that money then could have gone. Maybe we could have put it towards Honor, or we could have put it towards another striker a lot sooner. We could have brought in a striker weeks before we brought in GC. So I think for me, we should have really took that money, and I think Manchester United again need to take Mary Earps' money in January if there is to offer. As well as that, what nobody's talking about, Leah Golden's contract's up for renewal. She's already on her option to extend now. So that's another big player who could potentially be leaving, and Hayley Ladd. So I know Mary Earps is this centre one, but I think would be even more screwed if both Leah Golden and Hayley Ladd go because they're Hayley Ladd's a rock in that midfield, and Leah Golden has scored the most goals for us. So,
is that expiring? Is that expiring next summer?
Yeah, summer coming. Yeah.
Right. Okay. What we might as well do, Matt, because we spoke this before the pod, but obviously Man United do have another game coming up. We are no longer in the Champions League, so we are relying on Chelsea and Manchester United to fly the flag for dear old England. What are your thoughts going into tomorrow night's fixture? It's the first ever Champions League game. It's not at Old Trafford, unfortunately. It's at the LSV. What are your thoughts?
Nervous, excited at the same time, because this is something that we've been wanting for years. We've wanted that Champions League football. Now it's come. I like to say we overexceeded last season. No one expected us to be second, and I think if it wasn't down to Arsenal's injuries, for instance, we wouldn't have got that second place. So we've got into the Champions League. We've got a fantastic team in PSG. When we last played PSG, that was pre-season. We did beat them, but I'm not as confident. I must be honest. Just because they are a top team in the French league. It's them and Lyon. You know, they're the top dogs in that league. So we're gonna need to have some great game management, some great control. We need to make the substitutes when needed. We can't be putting them on in the 80th minute and hope for the best. So we need to have a great strategy coming into this game, because we know, for instance, there's two of our players who are old players who's at PSG, one being Jackie Groenen and the other one
Yes.
being Tukara. So that's going to be very interesting on having their reunion both at LSV. I know that people was about a bit angry not being at Old Trafford, but we couldn't even get a sellout for LSV. They've had to close the standing section. So I'll probably say, as much as LSV is an inconvenience to get to in terms of parking, etc., it's probably the better call, because it's better to have, I'd like to say, it's better to have at least looking like it's fuller than going to an empty Old Trafford. That's how I look at it anyway.
If Man United get through, will they be playing their group stage games at Old Trafford? Do we know that? Is that going to happen, or is that do we know?
It's only rumoured. It's only rumoured right now, so I don't know if even that's 100% as of yet. I'd like to say yes, but I don't have a clue.
Do you think you can get through?
I think it's all dependent on how both teams turn up. PSG have had a few more games than what we have had. We've had a bit more of a longer pre-season. I think it's just about how both teams turn up, because both teams do have a chance. I'd say it's probably better that we was at home first rather than away, because I think if we was at away first, I think that could. I don't want to say it as in a negative way, but I think that I think at times we do have a bit of a mental barrier. The team, we've seen it with Chelsea a lot of the time. There is that mental barrier there, and I think playing at home and having that bit of advantage, even if it's a 1-0 win or a 2-1 win, that will help us come into the away game and go, right, we've got this uppercut here. Let's try and build that advantage a bit more. Whereas I think, because it would be our first the away game first, I think it'd just set a lot more nerves.
Is this
My feeling
something
is,
that
before I hand back to Matt, I'm just going
Go
to
on.
say, before I hand back to Matt, my feeling of the game is, I think you can get a result at the LSV. I'm thinking you could get a draw at the LSV, maybe if you want to win, but I don't think you'll win in France. I think that's, and so it will be, if you can, it will just depend on that second leg result. If you're not beaten too badly in France, I think you might have a chance. But at the same time, yeah, if it's a loss at the LSV, no, I think you're going home, sadly, and that'll be a shame. But
So, yeah, I think the one question I was going to ask was, do you think that with yourself pushing PSG as far as they can, do you think that's going to be a good experience, because it can give you that benefit of maybe playing, say, Chelsea further down the line at home and other teams that might cause you problems? I'm a bit 50-50 on City this season, because they've only brought in Jill Roord. They've obviously got Jess Park and other players, but as things stand, do you think those sorts of experiences will help you further along and be able to be like, right, get this mentality right now?
I'd like to say so, that I probably would, just because we haven't, minus the WSL games, we haven't played anyone where I think it has been a real test. I know we've played a few in pre-season. We had Bayern Munich, we've had PSG before, so I think the players need to come in and go, right, we've played PSG before, we've got the win, we've had a win before, we need to do it again. And I think if there was to get some kind of result out of this, get to the group stage, I think it's going to do a whole lot of good coming into the season ahead for sure. And as well as that, I think it gives great confidence. I'd like to say it even potentially a cup, not in the league and the Champions League when I say this, but I mean more the Conti Cup, just because of the getting into the knockout straight away rather than playing them Durham away games. I hate Durham away, by the way. Worst ever. I just hate Durham in general.
Well, yeah, no, I remember when that result came through, and I know obviously you were playing I say rotated game because Marksky doesn't rotate, but they were less focused on the Conti Cup group stage. I think we can probably agree. And you did have some. I think it was 2 penalty shootouts, weren't there? There was Durham and another one where it was a win. Yeah, Was it Villa? Yeah. So it did raise an eyebrow when that happened, but then the trade-off was, of course, in the new year, there was no Europe, there was no Conti Cup, it was just the league and the FA Cup, and you had a clear run for the rest of the season, and that's one of the reasons you came second. So maybe these things do work out, and that's what we've got now. We've got the joys of the Conti Cup group stage. We've got Southampton and Bristol, Spurs.
Are they getting played
Reading,
at the
can't
Emirates,
wait.
or are they getting played
No.
at Well Meadow?
No,
If
the
you
plan
have a
is to at Meadow
season
Park.
ticket, they have to. If you're part of the season ticket, you get 2 Conti Cup tickets, which have to be played at Meadow Park. So essentially, if Arsenal do go through, there's potential they could put it at Meadow Park or the Emirates, depending on who it is.
If we draw Manchester United, who knows? But of course, we'll get through the group stage first. And there's last time we were in the group stage, it didn't go so well for us. So potentially there's a bit we need to fix that as well.
If we do get you in the Conti Cup again, I'm just kind of hoping we get that 1-0 win like last time. So
I am hoping for a 1-0 win and a late Russo header, and I will take that just like it was last time. So
with us, I think we'll be thinking 1-0 win, Rachel Williams header this time though.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, no, it was. Well, that's something to maybe look for. And if that does happen, maybe we'll be fortunate enough to have you back on to discuss whatever happens.
Yes,
Sure.
we would make sure that you come back again. I'm thinking that we do have you at the Emirates later on in the season as well. So there's always that to look forward to. There's always the possibility of the FA Cup as well. So we won't say anything more, but would love to have you back on again. Thank you for joining us, Maisy. Where can people find you?
Thank you both very much for having me on, and thank you as well to Lottie too. I've got a YouTube channel, Devils United, taking a break on that at the moment. And my Twitter's at 2_ MUFC Maze, I believe. So yeah, I'm always changing my Twitter handle. I can't even remember it these days. So yeah, you can catch me through there. Thank you both, and thank you, Lottie.
Adam, where can the lovely people find you or not find you?
If you don't want to find me, which is probably for the best, you can find me at Adam Sodderford. And just want to say again, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Maisy. It's really good to have a bit of insight into Manchester United, because we hear so much noise about the team, and they are a growing team, they are a growing fan base, and they are the big team that's threatening to upset the natural order. They have already done that. Fair play to them. Man City did not make the top 3 last season, so we shall watch your team and your progress with great interest, and see what happens this season. But yeah, thanks again for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And my Twitter is at MattLR28. You can also find us as VAW Pods, which is the podcast official account. Thank you for joining us, Maisy, once again, and we'll hope to have you back on soon. And it's been such great insight from all of us to learn a little bit more about Man United as well. Hopefully we can do a few more of those. If perhaps you support one of the WSL teams, or maybe one of the Conti Cup teams that Arsenal do face this season. If you do know anyone, please just let us know. Send a tweet our way. That is at Vic Acres Wonderland, or sorry, VAW. Sorry, Lottie, you're gonna probably kill me for this. On Twitter sooner or later. Yes, it's V at VAW Pods once again. So please let us know if you know anyone that might be interested in coming on. We'll hope to see you all soon. Thanks again for joining us.